No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing all right. Give a special shout out to all of our listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. We're glad to be with you this morning, and of course, we're glad to have you part of our show today, and we're glad to be part. We're glad with lots of glads. We're glad to be part of your sports programming up there on ESPN New Hampshire. I also want to give a shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV and on Fight.tv. That's FITE.tv. Glad to have you, and we're glad to be with you, man. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant. I'm donning the green version of the shirt. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Hey, you want one of these shirts? Let me know. Drop me an email, and you know, I'll hook you up with pricing and all that stuff. Give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why Sal's is my stop, my first stop when I'm heading south off of I-95, because it's only 15 minutes out of the way. And find out why I end up staying there so long, because I can't move because I eat so much, you know, being a fat bastard and all, you know. Check out Sal's. You'll see what I'm talking about. Sal's NeighborhoodPizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. That's right. We're going to be doing our blast from the past a little bit later on the show. And as usual, my man Alex Papali at the end puts our blast, which this week is John the Beast Mugambi, up against some today's fighters in the Title Bout Championship computer game. Get yourself a copy right now. Now, you can get all the information by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the Title Bout Championship computer game banner, which is right there on the left-hand side. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. And you can literally get a copy of it right now. I mean, while you're watching or listening to the show, go to BarnesandNoble.com, go to Amazon.com, go to my website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and get a signed copy. Just get a copy or two. Hey, the holidays are coming up. Believe it or not, they are. And nothing fits in a stocking better than my Tom Molyneux book. Trust me. Get everybody on your Christmas list a copy and help us right the ship about my man, Tom Molyneux. Another shout-out I want to give is to JKJ Boxing magazine. You want a free copy? Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing magazine logo and follow the directions. Speaking of directions, we got Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, coming on a little bit. We also got our blast from the past, like I mentioned a little earlier. Alex Papali and I are going to be talking about John the Beast Mugabe. So that'll be happening a little bit later. Before we get going here with the show, I want to send my condolences to a very good friend of mine, and he was involved with the show for a while. He's also an IBRO member, a historian, a great guy and a great friend, Tony Treem. I want to send my condolences to him losing his wife, Kathleen, finally succumbed to her battle with cancer. So, Tony, I hope you can recover from this loss, because I know it's a great one. Kathleen was a great woman. I had the pleasure of meeting her personally several times. So, Tony, my heart's prayers and condolences go out to you, and the rest of the Billy C. Boxing family feels the same way. So, Tony Treem, grieving right now, and hopefully he can get through this relatively quickly. Today's topic, we've been talking a lot about Triple G and Canelo just recently fought, and Canelo says, "Oh well, I'm gonna move to 160, and I'm gonna fight." We made him an offer. K2 says they never heard of an offer. All of this stuff, right? And it got me thinking, which is a dangerous thing. It got me thinking, and I said to myself, Billy C, because when I talk to myself, that's what I say. I say, Billy C, what do you think? Who needs who more? And at the end of the day, I come up with this. In lieu of the fact that Canelo seems to be looking for the easy way out, he and his promoter seem to be following the Floyd Mayweather blueprint and trying to fleece you, the boxing fan, as much as they possibly can. I think that Canelo at this point needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo. I think Triple G can clean up the middleweight division and move on, or move out, or retire. I don't know. But at this point in time, I personally think that Canelo needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo. Joining me right now from beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia, in our annex studio, the Sal Rocky Senecola studio, if you will, is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Buongiorno, Billy C.
Hey.
Come stai?
Hey,
Sorry,
nada. What do you think? Who needs who more at this stage of the game? Sal, we've talked about it a lot. All the naysayers are always saying, "Oh, Triple G hasn't fought anybody," blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, Canelo Alvarez has a decent resume, no question about it. However, ever since his us Mexicans don't F around and I'll fight him today and all of this stuff, it seems to have taken a complete reversal. And now, after seeing both of their last fights, who needs who more? Who would benefit from this fight more? And actually, who needs, let's focus on the word need. Who needs this fight more, Canelo or Triple G?
I think you hit it right on the head. Canelo needs this fight more than Triple G needs this fight. And Canelo needs it for various reasons, some that you also discussed. He's got to get his braggadocio rights back up there, put his money where his mouth is, and step in the ring. Otherwise, we don't want to call him scared of Triple G. So, yeah, he's got to get back. He's got to get in the ring with Triple G, and that's going to happen in 2017, obviously, because if it's going to happen, because I just read he had a broken thumb from the other night.
Right. Which now, they're trying to prove, because there's a lot of questions about that. He claimed. Canelo claimed in post-fight interviews after his fight with with Liam Smith that he broke it in the second round, which would indicate that he went the rest of the way, of course, with it. And they said that he won't be able to fight in 2016. So you know how these fighters need 18 months to prepare.
I was just gonna say, we're right on the same page. He's gonna be fine in 18 months.
In 18 months, he'll be able to fight him. And the funny thing is that's the plan. Listen, there's no secret that I'm not a big Floyd Mayweather fan. But like I always say, Floyd Mayweather, whether you like him or not, and I certainly don't like him. But whether you like him or not, in or out of the ring, the guy earned to do what he does. Call the shots, everything. I don't like it, but he earned it. Canelo is blatantly, and his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, are blatantly trying to rob Floyd's blueprint. That worked for Floyd. And I just don't think that the fans are willing to accept it with Canelo the way they were willing to accept it with Floyd. The reason why we accept it with Floyd is because Floyd demonstrates all the skill set that you kind of need. Listen, you and I don't like his style. We don't. But he's got the talent. There's no question about it. Canelo, we don't know. We see a lot of holes in Canelo's game. As much as I don't like Floyd, there's not many holes in his game. My only knock on him is that he doesn't engage. But that doesn't mean he's got a flaw. He's just safety first. Canelo Alvarez does have flaws. We do see his flaws. Defensively, there's flaws. when he's offensive attack, when he's on the offensive attack, he's got flaws. And yet he's trying to put himself in the same position or same level, if you will, as Floyd Mayweather, which is not true. And when you look at Triple G is fighting everyone that they put in front of him. He's not ducking anyone. And at this stage of the game, I honestly believe that Triple G does not need Canelo as much as Canelo needs him. And I think that Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya are blatantly robbing the fans. What do you think?
I think you're right on across the board. And I'm sitting here, and we're talking about Mayweather, and don't be surprised, Billy C, for a Christmas gift for all the fans, or early next year. Don't be surprised if Floyd Mayweather does not take a copy from the chapter of Sugar Ray Leonard challenging Marvin Hagler. And Floyd Mayweather coming out and just saying, hey, guess what? I'm going to come out and fight Triple G. You never know. You never know. But I'm just saying, don't be surprised if he copies that playbook there.
I would become Floyd Mayweather's biggest fan.
I know. So would I. And that's what I'm saying. This guy, he's a showman. He loves the adulation and everything else. And he's still capable of doing it, and he's sitting on the sidelines right now. I read that the whole thing with McGregor's called off. Supposedly it's tapped out because McGregor doesn't know what the heck he's going to do. So Floyd needs something to get his juices going because he's tired of sitting on the sidelines. And what a better way than taking the playbook of Sugar Ray Leonard challenging Marvelous Marvin Hagler. That would be the equation or the equal of Floyd Mayweather picking up the phone and challenging Triple G.
Well, let me tell you something. I never thought Floyd would fight McGregor. Ever. No. It just doesn't make sense. No. Floyd is safety first. He's certainly not going to fight on an MMA playing field. And Conor McGregor has no chance against Floyd. Talk about taking advantage of the boxing fans and MMA fans, fleecing them for a pay-per-view. No, it's not going to happen. But I do believe if anybody could steal, and I got to use that word steal, a victory from Triple G, it would be Floyd. And to tell you the truth, there's talk, maybe Floyd and Canelo have a rematch, but I think Floyd, I don't know if he would take that chance, but I certainly would become his biggest fan, and I would have to respect him for fighting Triple G if he would do that. And you make a great point. There is no bigger fight, really, than Floyd Mayweather against Triple G. I don't think he's ever going to do it. I don't think he's got the hair on his you-know-whats.
No.
But if he does come back, he is going to choose an opponent that he knows he can beat. That's Floyd's style. That's Floyd's M.O. Floyd's M.O. is to rob the fans, and that's my hang-up with Canelo, because Canelo and Oscar are doing just that. They're robbing the fans right now, Sal.
Well, you said it right there. I read on the ESPN, I think it was, I don't know if it was Nigel Collins or so, but, the headline today was Boxing's Magic Formula. Make good fights. I mean, that's the bottom line. We got to have good fights. They're touting it right there, saying, guess what? The fans are going to go elsewhere unless we make these good fights. The fans could see it, and the promoters don't see it. And that's what's going to hurt when they rob the fans of a natural confrontation in the ring between two world-class fighters, and they don't promote that angle.
Well, Nigel Collins did write that article, and I agree with him. And coaches in the chat room now. By the way, anybody watching or listening on the radio or a live stream, wherever you may be, I know there's chat rooms all over, but check out the one on BillyCBoxing.com. That's the one we look at and include in the show. My man Coach is in there right now, and he says Golden Boy Promotions needs Canelo versus Triple G, just not now. Now, I disagree. I think boxing needs a big fight right now, a big fight, and a big fight would be Triple G, Canelo, or as you suggest, Floyd Mayweather, Triple G. That wouldn't happen until May. Because that's Floyd likes to fight May.
That's Floyd's time. Like May 12th was Pacquiao, right?
It's he likes Cinco de Mayo. He kind of
he does.
Hey, listen, let's hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I got some emails to read and a lot of other stuff. We'll be back in 2.
Yeah.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now, back to the Billy C Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C Morning Show. Glad you guys are with us. And speaking of being with me right now, Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, before we went to break, we were talking about Triple G and Canelo and who needs who more. We both feel that Canelo needs Triple G more. And before I read an email or two, I mean, why does boxing, out of all the sports, why is boxing permitted, so to speak, to rip off the fans every which way? How does that continue? Why do the fans, I mean, us diehard fans, we're a dying breed. There's not many behind us. You got short-lived fans, and there's not much of a future if they don't make the good fights.
No, you just hit a nerve. When you say something, you trigger something, and I got to come out and say it while it's in my mind. But anyway, I'm going to tell you right now, because it's the anticipation. They bait us, and it's the anticipation. We know what boxing's about. The boxing purists love to see a great fight, and even though they may not see the best fight, it's the bated breath of the anticipation that it's like a lottery player. A lottery player is addicted to playing the lottery. It's not that he's losing, and it's not that he's throwing away his money. It's just that he hasn't won yet. And the boxing fans' mentality is the same way. We haven't gotten a super fight yet, but it's coming.
Well,
that's the mentality. I just invented that.
Well, that's the super fan, but the casual fan, they turn it on. They go, "Oh, this is why I don't watch it," and they go to something else. Hey, I'll give you some other reasons. This weekend, Marco Captain Huck, the former, in my opinion, the former cruiserweight, the best cruiserweight in the world, was scheduled to fight Oville McKenzie, who's a tough journeyman, if you will, who loves the upset. Who loves the upset? Word. Yeah, there's that word from the other day's show. But McKenzie backed out. He got sick and he couldn't fight. So obviously the promoters are scrambling to try and find somebody. I mean, they only got a couple of days to do it, and then it turns out that Huey Fury and Andy Ruiz Jr., this was a fight in the heavyweight division. Both of these guys are on their way up. Andy Ruiz is a cupcake away from 900 pounds. Although he lost a few pounds, hasn't fought anybody of note. Not one. I repeat it again. Not one real opponent. And Huey Fury, on the other hand, is along the same lines. They were scheduled to fight October 29th on the undercard of the rematch between Tyson Fury and Vladimir Klitschko. And Andy Ruiz just backed out of that fight. It was reported yesterday. And we got another thing to throw out there. Baby Miller, Jarrell Baby Miller, who is a self-proclaimed the best heavyweight out there, who I think is a B-U-M bum because he hasn't fought. His toughest opponent was Fred Cassie, who's not even a big heavyweight despite his nickname, Big Fred Cassie. He's big compared to me and you, Sal, but he's not big compared to the heavyweights. And Baby Miller, listening to people in his ear, all of a sudden he wants to diss his current promoter and sign with somebody else. And that's starting to fight. You got all of this negativity, and we say to ourselves, "Gee, Sal, why don't people watch boxing anymore? Why should they when everybody backs out? I mean, what do you think about all of that?"
You know what? Because boxing right now, in today's era, and I'm going to say this, I got to be careful, but you got to understand where it's coming from, and you will. Boxing needs more Don Kings right now. It needs the grassroots promoters, that the promoters put the great fighters together, not the camps, not the managers, not the promoters put the great fights together. And that's what it used to be back 20, 30 years ago. The promoters put the great fights together and they promoted it from the grassroots up. That's what boxing needs. We need the grassroots promoters, i.e. like a Don King, like somebody else, or Bob Arum, to really be vocal, to be on the front, and to put the best fighters of each weight class together the way the fans are expecting. That's what we need.
Yeah, well, we don't have promoters that promote anymore. We don't have managers that manage anymore. We don't even have fighters that fight anymore. We don't have
trainers that train
well,
anymore.
We don't have, the worst part is we don't have fighters who fight anymore. I mean, but, hey, let me get some emails out of the way. This one's from my man Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C, I just read that Andy Ruiz Jr. pulled out from the Fury fight in October, and I'm not surprised since he just had a fight, and go right back to another fight would be way too much for Andy. Way too much. He had a fight last month. October's still 2 months away. What are you talking about? Or, at the end of October. It's almost 2 months away from his last fight. What are you talking about? I mean, what? Since when are we supposed to accept that fighters only fight twice a year, 3 times a year? Give me a break, man. We go back in the history books, and these guys used to fight once a month, even more. I mean, come on, man. If you're in shape all the time, why couldn't you fight every other month?
That's
why, Sal? Why? Give me an answer. I'm asking you. Give me an answer, damn it.
I like to wait for 18 months. Thank you.
Oh, you're too busy in the chat room. I see. I see what Sal. See, Sal's too busy communicating in the chat room when I'm throwing questions at you. You got to be ready to respond, man. Respond.
I did. I need 18 months to get ready to fight.
Sal needs 18 months to prepare his answer. Okay, I'll throw some questions. Oh, jeez.
I'm canceling the chat room. I'm out.
No. Well, you only got a couple of minutes left anyway. But
thanks.
Jesse, no, I mean on the show. You got plenty of time.
That's what I mean.
He also says, hey, Billy, why are all or most of the big fights in Vegas? Why don't we see the big fights in Mexico, Japan, Dallas, or L.A.? Let me explain something. First of all, in the United States, we see a lot of the bigger fights in Vegas. Texas is coming on, and of course Madison Square Garden area, including the Brooklyn Barclays Center. But here's the deal. When you see fights going to Vegas and stuff like that, it's because Vegas is one of the only places left, aside from the Barclays Center and Jerry Jones in Texas, that are actually paying the promoters a site fee. Those days of paying site fees are gone. Fighters used to bring fight cards to a venue, and a venue, a casino or whatever, would pay what they called the site fee. They would literally pay the promoter to bring the fight there for their fan base, for their customers or whatever. That's why casinos became a natural fit for the sport of boxing. But in lieu of the way the economy is and the way business is being conducted today in today's world, and how the global large scope of boxing globally has shrunk. Everybody can view a game and everything else, or view a fight, or from wherever you are. Wherever you are, there you are. But wherever you go, there you are. But the bottom line is it's not cost effective. So Las Vegas is one of the last places that is still forking over checks for site fees. But good question, Jesse. Wow. We got another one. This one's from my man Mitch. He says, "Here comes the BS. Look for about 10 Twitter and Instagram photos from Team Canelo, just trying to prove that the injury is fact." He says, do your thing elsewhere, Triple G. You don't need this guy. And my man Mitch, we agree with you 100%. We were just talking about that. Thanks for the email. This next one, how did Jesse slip in too? This is another one from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C., do you think Joseph Diaz is ready for names like Josh Warrington, Hanoso, Jorge Lara, Eric Hunter, or Shimada as his next opponents? Listen, to me, Jojo Diaz should step it up a little bit. I think Josh Warrington wouldn't be a bad fight. Jorge Lara, maybe not so. Eric Hunter, another good one. I think they're even. Shimoda and Hanonso, maybe next time out. Not this next fight, but the one after that. Josh Warrington is a good one. I like that. He says, what's your thoughts on Canelo's manager saying he will never fight Monroe Jr. because his style doesn't allow Canelo to make a fight happen, so they'd just rather have a rematch versus Lara. I agree with you, Billy C., that Canelo is the next Mayweather and pretty much picking his own fights that are convenient to him. Listen, Sal and I, and Sal, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the holes in the game that we're talking about with Canelo. He has trouble with fighters that have movement. And, one of the problems with Liam Smith, if maybe he boxed him a little or tried to box him a little, he would have prolonged his fight. What are you eating, potato chips? What are you, you're crunching chips?
That microphone's really good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, geez, the guy
playing penny football.
Yeah, there you go. But I think that that's BS. That managers and promoters, come right out in the public and say they don't want to fight so and so because styles and everything else. That's not what we want as fans, right, Sal?
No, and that's exactly it. We don't want that as fans, and it just goes through the whole thing. We have to reshape and rebuild the whole game, restructure the boxing the way it used to work, the way it was, and it's going to be impossible to really do it. But that's going to be some of the strategy and some of the things we need to do to implement to make this game the way it was and the greatness that it can still achieve. The great fighters are out there. We just have to promote them, just have to bring them to.
Well, they have to let them fight.
They have to let them fight.
Great fighters are made when they have the right opponent. Muhammad Ali had Joe. Muhammad Ali had Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Kenny Norton. They all made him great. Those fights were epic. And that's why we look at him as great. Sugar Ray Leonard had Duran and Hagler and Hearns and all of those fights. I mean, when you go down the list, all these great fighters had a dance partner. Floyd Mayweather could have, but he never had rematches. Only the one. Oh, actually two. But the bottom line is, you need those, and that's what creates legends. And they're all following that path that worked for Floyd, and there's only one Floyd. But. Yeah. Anyway, he says, what's your thoughts on Bernard saying that Canelo had to fight on the ropes in the corners because when and if he ever fights Triple G, he's going to have to fight in those situations? Billy, I still saw Canelo getting tired, no head movement, and and not enough consistent combos. Canelo is not progressing for his age, but the positive is that he's thinking he's a lot better in the ring. Listen, you can't get better unless you increase your level of opposition. Canelo Alvarez went from a Floyd Mayweather to regressing his level of opposition. The only thing that he's progressing in is avoiding the best opposition that he could fight. Listen, him against the ropes against Triple G spells disaster as far as I'm concerned, Sal.
Forget about it. Triple G would move side to side around him and bang him in the body with some vicious hooks and come up and. Yeah, that would be fodder, man. That would be even shorter lived fight than what I could anticipate.
Hey, listen, I got an email. This one's from my man Brett from Canada. He says, "Hey, Billy C and Sal, I have to admit, I had a good laugh listening to last Friday's show when you guys were talking about how buffalo chicken doesn't go on pizza and neither does ham, and neither does ham or pineapple." He says, "I guess you don't know. I guess you didn't know that ham and pineapple pizza is called Hawaiian." Yeah, we knew that, Brett. Come on, we don't need a Canadian telling us about pizza. And then he says, "I got to admit that I have a dream matchup for Sal. I have Sal going up. Listen to this. All right, listen, because we're running out of time." He says, "I have Sal going up against my father-in-law in making a pizza contest. My father-in-law used to co-own a pizza shop, and he's also well-versed in the art of making good pizzas. I would have the daunting task of being the official taste-testing judge, and my belly is expanding just thinking about it." Right? He's challenging you.
I love that challenge.
He's putting his father-in-law up against Sal, Rocky Senecola. I don't know, man. I come on, Brett. We love you, man, but Sal. I wouldn't do that I wouldn't do that if I were you. One last email. This one's from Vin, our man Vin. He says, "Hey, Billy C and Sal, the whole thing regarding the contract Golden Boy sent to Triple G is all BS, and it's designed to regain Canelo's lost fans. Chances are that it's a fight for September 2017 and sets the purse split. Lawful will never sign something that guarantees a purse split so far into the future. Triple G will have three more fights until then, And Triple G's popularity is still rising. Andre Ward did the same thing with Triple G last year. They sent a contract with the purse split, and they said no. Canelo's in a tough place. He can't beat any of the top 154 and 160-pound fighters. Overall, he's an average fighter that made to look better than he really is. There are no more competitive opponents for Triple G other than Canelo. I disagree with that, but I think there's more opportunity for Triple G than there are for Canelo. I think Triple G can't. I don't think anybody can beat Triple G from 154 through 160. Case closed. What's your quick thoughts? We got to go.
I think you're right on. I mean, Triple G could fight anybody in that weight division, and I think he's going to be victorious no matter what. He's got too much strength, too much power, and he still is. He's a great boxer. He really is. He cuts the ring off. He does what he has to do. He's got all the fundamentals down right, and there's not that opposition out there that's going to give him too much trouble.
No. Sal, great job. We look forward to you tomorrow, my man.
Hey, buddy, you take care, and I'll talk to you a little later.
All right,
Have
man.
a great
Take
day.
care. That's Sal Rocky Senecola. I got to take a short break. When I come back, Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard set to join us.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Give a special shout out to all of our listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could be with us. And of course, Fight TV and Fight.tv. That's FITE.tv on your handhelds. Glad you guys are part of our show today, and we're glad to be part of your morning. And speaking of being part of our morning, joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, what's up, Billy?
Oh, not much, my man, not much. Canelo took care of Liam Smith last week, or Saturday, this past Saturday, stopping him in the 9th round. What's your thoughts on that fight, Larry?
Well, hey, Smith put up a better fight than I thought he would.
Yeah.
But, you know, the ending was not surprising. But, I mean, I think he gave a pretty decent account of himself. Of course, for a pay-per-view event, I still don't feel that the fight came close to any that we've seen in the last few weeks or months, But I mean, I was pleasantly surprised that it went as long as it did.
You mean three fights of basically 2 fights of prospects, 10-rounders, 1 fight for some mystical belt, a 12-round fight with 2 guys that are top 10 contenders, and the Canelo Smith fight. You don't think that was worth $75?
No.
Of course it wasn't. That should have been that fight. What should have been? Hey, listen. I think, all kidding aside, that would have made a great, triple or quadruple event on HBO or Showtime. To me, that's where it belonged. I haven't heard any numbers yet, but I'm guessing that a lot of people didn't buy that fight, Larry. I mean, I had to, and I grumbled every step of the way. And I was actually
same with me. I mean, like we said before, we buy them because of the business we're in. I buy them, because of the business I'm in, and then we can talk about it. We can talk about it prior to seeing it for free, this coming week, But I certainly, if it were not for those reasons, I wouldn't buy it. I'm enjoying watching more exciting events. I'm watching more exciting events for free, weekly. So why would I go spend $50, $60? Look what they call themselves putting on for $75. Well, it was I think it was $60 that I paid for $59.95. Okay, and it still wasn't worth it. Like I said, it didn't even compare. Okay, what fight did you see compared to the Chocolito Gonzalez fight, or even the Easter fight, or Triple G and Kell Brook? We got that for free. Okay, was there anything that you saw last week that compared to those fights?
Absolutely not. The Robert Easter Richard Comine fight was fantastic for free on cable. And I got there, I had to pay for the high def. It was $74.95. So it was $75 for the Canelo fight. And to be honest with you, the issue with me, first of all, I agree with you that Liam Smith put up a better performance than I thought. Very gritty and tough fighter, which I love these British fighters. I mean, really, I wish a lot of the American fighters would rip a page out of the Brits' book. But you know what I noticed in this fight, Larry, was that Canelo, he's got some holes in his game, bro. This is a guy that was taking shots. I mean, I'm watching him. And you know how, like, when fighters develop, and he's been around a long time. He's been in there with some good fighters, a la Floyd Mayweather, etc. But I don't know if he's improving. I see the same mistakes that he's been making for several years. He's, this whole thing about ducking Triple G. I mean, today's main topic is I honestly think that Canelo needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo. If I'm Team Triple G, I move away from Canelo. Forget about him. He's got a position to fight Daniel Jacobs and maybe Billy Joe Saunders. What does he need Canelo for?
Well, that's true. I mean, and now he's calling Triple G out at 160 pounds. So be careful what you wish for.
Larry, you know how they do. You know more than anybody what they do. They say, "Oh yeah, I got a contract. We made an offer. Now it's up to him." Well, wait a minute. The other side of that story, I can't believe when people always say, "Oh, did you hear so-and-so offered this guy a contract and he won't take it. He's chickening out." Well, wait a minute. Did you hear the other side? They offered him $1.50 to fight him. They offered him some kind of let's be real here. What's the offer? How come K2 says we never saw any offer? What are they talking about? There's always 3 sides to the story, right?
That's right. we're still waiting on the truth.
That's right. That's right. That's 100% correct. I just listen. Canelo, this whole thing, they're trying to marinate it, and you and I have talked about it. I've said it many, many times. They're clearly and blatantly ripping a page out of Floyd Mayweather's book. Although I'm not a fan, although I don't like his style, Floyd Mayweather earned to be able to do what he does. There's only one Floyd Mayweather. He gets to cherry pick. He gets to pick the deal. He gets to choose who he fights, where he fights, what gloves. He earned that. He's been at the top of the game. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like it, but let's face it. He's earned it. Canelo hasn't, but he's trying to copy that. And I think it's backfiring, to be honest with you. Have you heard anything about numbers for that fight?
No. Canelo's trying to go from 0 to 100, without anything in between. And I don't expect that those numbers are going to be anything worthy of talking about. I mean, who the hell? A lot of people still don't even know that the fight took place.
What do you think about? They said that there were 50,000 people. It did seem packed. That the fight was a draw in Texas. That kind of surprised me. I don't know if they opened up the gates and let everybody in for free or not, but it appears to me that there were a lot of people that went to the fight. That kind of surprised me a bit. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it was a night out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They haven't had a real major fight in Texas for a while. I mean, Texas is a major player in the boxing business, and for a while they were getting a lot of the major events. So they haven't had a big name fight in quite a while. So along comes Canelo. It was a night out. I mean, it's like you and I, we have to buy the pay-per-view. Okay, so you got fight fans, Texas and the surrounding areas. This was a night out. And here's Canelo. I mean, I was in Texas at that new stadium when Clottey and Pacquiao? It was packed. Okay? I mean, there's no same type fight. Okay? So it's the same thing. The people down in that area, they come out. I can give them credit for that. They come out for the fight. And then, of course, the Cowboy owner, he took part in a lot of the promo leading up to it. And so it worked out well. And there was De La Hoya was down there for one of the football games. You know what I mean? And so they did some good promo in that local promo in that area. And so the people came out. I mean, I've seen that happen before. But that in no way is a testament to the fact that this was a great fight and, they were coming to see such a great fighter and all that. For me, Canelo still has a lot to prove to me. Okay? I just can't wait. I just can't wait for him and Triple G. I can't wait.
They're going to try to drag it out to I don't even think they're going to have that fight 2017. I think they're clearly waiting for Triple G to age. I think they might have felt that they saw something. And I just personally think Triple G, he fights Daniel Jacobs, maybe Billy Joe Saunders. He ends up with every belt possible in the middleweight division. Then what else does he have to prove? And he could turn around and leave.
Well, that's where he's going.
Well, that's where I hope.
Canelo now has the hand problem, so we won't see him anymore this year.
Anyway, let me ask you this: on the broadcast, HBO pay-per-view, HBO was so biased with that broadcast. It was actually nauseating. They kept referring to Canelo as the linear world middleweight champion. Now that goes back to him beating Cotto and it goes all the way back to the guy who beat the guy, which I get, right? But that was their validation, so to speak, to keep the Triple G Canelo discussion alive. What was your thoughts about them continuously referring to him as that when it was blatant that they were fighting for a 154-pound title?
Well, you get these guys, Tulliman and Lampley. You know, they're like parrots. You know, a lot of times when they're blowing up a fighter, it's quite obvious who the fighter is that they feel is carrying the telecast. But my view of that also is that going in, they're trying to make the fight itself bigger than it really is because they know that it was a ripoff. You know, if you notice some of the fights that come on HBO pay-per-view or even just on HBO itself, fights that really are just so-so events. They blow up whoever their leading guy, because they do have leading guys. We know that by now. Whoever the leading guy is, they have a tendency to blow him up. I mean, beyond the imagination. And that's all I see there. Linear champion, this and that. What does that mean? I mean, he's calling, look, go fight the best, okay? Go fight the best, beat the best, and you're the champion. All this linear crap and all that. I mean, that doesn't mean that much to me.
Hey, somebody brought up today, my man Sal brought up, he's hearing rumors that Floyd's getting the itch again, which we all knew. We knew Floyd was going to come back for the 50th win.
Yeah.
But of course, everybody wishes Floyd would come back and do something great, and really put an exclamation on his career. And some of the talk is to rip a page out of one of your guys' books, and that's, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard coming back and seeking out the best of his era in the middleweight division, being Marvin Hagler. Is there any way, Larry, do you think, just in your mind, based on what you know, do you think that there would be any possibility that Floyd Mayweather would take a challenge like that and come out right now and steal everything from anybody that's trying to build up momentum about their careers and actually fight Triple G?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You know why? You know why I don't think so? I don't think so because at this point, I don't think that he has to. I don't think that he has that fighting spirit, that pedigree. Well, I don't know if I want to say pedigree because he does have fighting pedigree. But I don't think that he has. Floyd Mayweather, as great as he was, as good a fighter as he was or is, he's still of a new generation. He's one of those new generation fighters. Okay. And this new generation, except for a few exceptional ones that we see, they pick and choose. They certain types of fighters. They don't want to mix it up. They don't want, they just don't want to go out, take chances. I don't think at this point that Floyd Mayweather feels no way would he come like Sugar did and call out the best guy and say, let's do it. Okay, let's prove who's the best. I just don't feel that he's got it in him.
Isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame, kind of, though, Larry?
Yeah, well, it is, but it speaks volumes for what the game has become. And it's a funny thing. I had a serviceman at my home last night, getting ready for the winter months. And he's looking at all of the pictures on the wall, I got a library there. And we started talking boxing, and, he was echoing the same thing that I'm saying. And he said, where are the stars today? The game has changed so much. And this guy doesn't even know that much about boxing. But the one thing that he was saying that was so profound, he said that, the fighters today, they're so different. They're not like the guys from generations past. That's what he said. He said, I I really don't follow the fighters that much. He said, but at least, generations past, I knew who the champions were. The same old story over and over and over. And I said to him, well, who's the heavyweight champion? He said, I don't know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know. You know?
I know, and that's the sad part, and we wonder what the thing is. I talk to people all the time, and sometimes you'll get someone that say, "Well, I stopped watching boxing because it's too violent." Now all of a sudden, people saying, "I stopped watching boxing because it's too boring." Whoa, what happened? It went from being too violent to too boring. Then you have people that say, "Well, that's what boxing has evolved to. If you want brutality, go to MMA." And I said, yeah, well, that's exactly what's happening. The people that want to see, fights are leaving the sport because there's no more fights, But and this is a great segue. Check this out. 2 young heavyweights destined to fight each other, was scheduled to fight on the undercard of the Klitschko-Tyson Fury rematch in October.
Right.
Huey Fury and Andy Ruiz, who hasn't fought anybody. I don't even believe he should get even the mention. Andy Ruiz backed out of the fight, and they're talking about, oh, well, it's too soon. He fought last month. It's the end of October. So you're telling me that fighters can't fight every other month anymore? I mean, it's too soon. It's like Billy Joe Saunders saying, I need 18 months to prepare for Triple G. 18 months? I mean, what's going on? You had Overall McKenzie pull out of the Huck fight that's scheduled for this weekend because he doesn't feel well. I mean, guys of yesteryear used to fight with broken hands. I mean, granted, we wouldn't let them do that today, but it's just like what you're saying. That tough factor's gone, man.
It's gone, man. It's that fighting spirit, that tenacity to get in there and mix. It's just gone. It's gone. And it's a funny thing. I read an interesting article not long ago about HBO, the quality of the events on HBO, and how MMA is, well, not just MMA itself, but boxing is no longer the only game in town. The only game in town. And that's the way they were phrasing it, and how they were using MMA as an analogy with the new young audience, that boxing has become, like you say, boxing has become too boring, and it's not enough. So the younger crowds are leaning towards MMA because of the ferocity of MMA, and they have a shorter attention span. You know what I mean? They were saying things like that. And it's just that fighters today, they're just not as exciting anymore. I mean, you had guys, look, when Sugar Ray Leonard went in the ring, okay, you sat on the edge of your seat. When Roberto Duran went into the ring, you sat on the edge. When Mike Tyson, oh my gosh, you would dare not drink any water or any soft drinks, because if you went to the bathroom, you come back, the fight might be over. These are the things that kept boxing so alive and so exciting, okay, the past generation. And the list goes on and on. Marvin Hagler. I mean, I refereed a few fights, but every time I got in the ring with Marvin Hagler, the aura of being in the ring, I'm just a referee, just the aura of being in the ring with this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That says enough. That tells you right there, the way these guys came into the ring. You know what I mean? You knew that something was going to happen. So it's gone. It's missing. And we're still in search of that era that we're so used to in boxing. And I don't know if we're ever going to find it.
Well, you know what it is? You know what it is, Larry? First of all, Tyson fight, if the fight went 30 seconds, people walked out of there still thinking they got their money's worth, and the reason is because Mike Tyson was a character. It was a creation, so to speak, that people looked into. Today, they're not giving. It's not really the fighter's fault, because I do believe we have some great fighters. We have some great athletes in the boxing game. The problem is their management and their promoters and the television networks aren't permitting these guys to challenge themselves because they turn around and devalue them when they lose. Just a great example is one of the undercard fights on the Canelo Smith card. Jojo Diaz fought Andrew Cancio. Cancio loses. He drops his fourth fight in his career. He's 17 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws. And what's HBO commentating saying? Oh, he's now a journeyman. What? Because he's got 4 losses, he's a journeyman? Deshaun Johnson is a journeyman with a little above 500 record. That's a journeyman. Cancio wasn't a journeyman for losing 4 fights. So that's the perception that has been painted and given to the fans today. You lose a fight, you're finished. And that's wrong. It's wrong. Look,
and that's a very important point you make.
Yeah,
that's
look,
very important point you make.
Look what's going on with Jarrell Baby Miller. Jarrell Baby Miller, who, in my opinion, I hate to use the word fraud, but he's a fraud. I mean, this guy has fought no one, and he's pounded his chest like he's the best, saying everybody's ducking him and stuff. I mean, come on. His biggest opponent was Fred Cassie, and now he's got people in his ear. And although I'm not a big fan of Dimitri Solita and his promotional company, he's trying to diss him, saying sends a letter from his lawyer, who happens to be a promoter. We won't mention names, but he says, "Hey, we're because of your conduct, we're canceling our contract." What? You can't do that. I mean, give me a break. What's going on? I mean, and this is again negativity that the casual fan sees, and they say, "Oh, I want to stay away from this sport." I mean. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, Larry.
Yeah, well, it's just a sad state of affairs, and unless it changes, I mean, it's just going to keep going downhill, Billy.
Hey,
one last same conversation as long as we can.
I got one last question for you, and we got to. The time is up already, but the PBC, and I know you alluded to it earlier. And who doesn't love all of the boxing on television these days, and the PBC because of the money that's been spent, and there's really nothing been returned yet. They really have been treating us to some fantastic matchups, and I hope it continues. But as of today, as of this morning, just as we went on air, the PBC only has 1 more fight card scheduled for the rest of this year. And it's happened to be coming up. It's the Bryant Perella and Yordenis Ugas fight that was supposed to happen. Do you think they're going to come up with some more? Do you think they're sitting back and seeing if their plan worked and these networks are going to pay them? I mean, real quickly, what do you think is the next step for the PBC? Is this the beginning of the end, or are we going to keep moving forward with them?
I think we're going to keep moving forward. I hope we do. Now, I know that there has been some talk about bringing Danny Garcia to Boardwalk Hall sometime in October. So, I don't know this other fight that they have, and I'm aware of that PPC situation. Okay, because I was wondering if, in fact, that's not going to happen. But I have been told on 2 separate occasions that they were trying to, get Danny Garcia into Atlantic City, which would be great, And so, you can add that one. That would be added to that schedule. But I do believe that they're gonna go forward. I certainly hope so. And they can say what they want, but to me, Al Heyman has really done a fantastic job with trying to revitalize boxing, and it would be a shame. It would really be a shame if this thing dies. So I'm hoping that it does go forward.
It would be good if it can, but at the end of the day, business is business. You know that, and it's gonna be interesting to see. If anyone steps up and continues that. But Larry, great as usual, and we'll be looking forward to next week, my man.
Okay, Billy.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too.
Take care. That's my man Larry Hazard giving us his thoughts on a lot of stuff, and shares my opinion about Canelo and some of the younger fighters today. Maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the people that are whispering in their ear. Don't fight this guy. Don't fight that guy. We'll be right back.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Lewis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought. Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on ESPN New Hampshire and Fight TV. Glad you guys could be with us today, and we're glad we could be with you as well. But, it's that time again.
Blast from the past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
top-ranking heavyweight. Joe Louis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time. Look at that left hook. Belt that goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being sponsored by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And Title Bout Championship computer game. Don't forget about that. Features a former world junior middleweight champion and a former world middleweight title challenger, and a real badass, John the Beast Mugabe. And joining me right now to tell us all about the Beast is my man Alex Perpali. What's up, Alex?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Good, my man. Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Alex. Don't let all the squirrels and the winter come in soon. Don't let that bum you out, man. I mean, there'll be spring again after that.
Oh, it still feels like summer down here. That's for sure.
Well, it's not feeling like summer at nighttime up here. Let me tell you. Hey, I knew that we're going to have, all the old timers. Oh, yeah, when the acorns fall, this and that. It's going to be a cold, nasty winter. I knew it was going to be a bad winter because when I put my dog out this morning, the squirrel had a jacket on, all right? So it's going to be cold. I'm telling you, man. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, that's a sure sign.
It is.
Jacketed squirrel.
When the squirrels are wearing snorkel jackets, it's going to get cold, So, anyway, John the Beast Mugabe. Tell us about this guy.
Why,
man.
is that a sign, too, that it's going to be a heavy winter if there's a lot of acorns?
I guess one of the old wives' tales, and people swear by it, is when the acorns start talking old wives' tales with Billy C. and Alex P. When the acorns start falling, like in August, which they did this year, is a sign that it's going to be cold. So it could also be a sign that they didn't get much water this year. But I'll stick with considering that last year was mild. I just think that cycles are cycles, and I'm getting ready for a nasty one up this way anyway.
Nasty winter, yeah, could be. We got a crazy amount of acorns, so.
Oh, no wonder.
We're in quite a drought, so it could be that.
Well, they said that the drought killed the apples this year, and the acorns are are all over the place. So if that's hey, keep that in the back of your mind. So if you're shoveling more than not this year, say those damn acorns. That it was true.
Acorns.
It was the acorns. But anyway, John the Beast Mugabe, interesting
John the
cat.
Beast Mugabe, yep. He was born, I wasn't sure if we have a lot to talk about on this guy, but hopefully we could do a pretty decent blast. John the Beast Mugabe, he was born March 4th, 1960, in Kampala, Uganda, and to his dad, Tamil, and his mom, Onek. His dad was a maintenance worker. He's a Mutoro tribesman, and he speaks, his main language is Swahili. For a long time he didn't speak English very well at all. It does seem that he does now, and it looks like he's living in Australia now. He actually has a YouTube page. Not a YouTube page, a Facebook page. But it's hard to tell if it's actually run by him or if he's run by somebody in America or someplace else. Whoever it is likes Hillary Clinton about as much as you and Coach. So I have a feeling it's probably not being run by him because as an Australian descendant, as an Australian Ugandan, I'm not sure he cares much about U.S. politics. But
well, it's hard to like her. Even people that want to like her don't. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't have much of a selection this year. There's no question about it. But you got one guy.
The more Trump talks, it's easier to like her.
Well, the funny thing is that even as bad as he is, it's hard to like her. At least me. He says crazy, stupid things every time he says something. And then you look over at her and you're like, I just don't know about you slimy. She's just, I don't know. I wish all of a sudden they would just have like Snoopy on the ballot, and Snoopy wins. Snoopy's our new president. Whoever else is on there, Well,
I tell you, the exciting thing is going to be Monday night with that first debate. I mean, that's bigger than Triple G Floyd Mayweather right there, if you ask me.
Well, they're already crying foul. There's nothing different about this debate coming up as a bogus pay-per-view because they're already I'm going to get I'm going to get rooked. I don't want this one. They're choosing gloves. Instead of choosing gloves, they're choosing moderators. Instead of choosing facilities, they're choosing locations of where they want to do it. I mean, come on. Whoever doesn't come out on top based on the people that score it, so to speak, they're going to all cry foul, whether it's him or her, So we're not getting a fair shake. The people aren't getting a fair shake. But anyway, let's talk about the Beast. He
started boxing at 6 years old, and it looks like he was boxing in the same little boys club gym that Jack Edwards, the owner of a tea plantation down there in Uganda. Who was also one of the mentors of Cornelius Boza Edwards. He learned under the same tutelage as him. And he was a bit of a slum dog, as they say. He was from a real poor section of town, and he did like causing trouble, starting fights. One of the things he would do is sneak into some of the fancier parties, and they'd see a little kid running through, stealing food, with no shoes on, and he'd sneak in through a kitchen window and fill his shirt with as much food as he could and then sneak back out and bring it to his friends. So he's a generous guy, but, he was a little bit of a troublemaker. But he sure had power. Even at 10 years old, the power was there.
He sounds like the Robin Hood of boxing, right? But, why... One thing I don't know about him, and I actually do know a lot about him because the late, great Johnny Boz was involved with the Beast Mugabe, so I got some inside stuff on him we'll talk about a little bit later. But, one thing I don't know is the first 6 fights of the Beast's career, 6 of them were in Germany. What's the Germany connection? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But he was with Mickey Duff and Sauerland, Wilfred Sauerland. So I don't know if Sauerland Promotions has more of Germany connection.
Of course, they're out of Germany.
But that's why he was in London. Was he was with Mickey Duff. But yeah, I'm not sure about the Germany.
No, well, Sauerland's out of Germany, so that explains that.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, when you look at the Beast's record, you see a lot of obscure opponents, and he fought them in obscure places, realistically. What we would call today, safe opponents with good-looking records and stuff. And the list goes on and on up until he got his shot with Marvin Hagler, which was in a weight class that he was actually fighting out of. He was fighting in the junior middleweight division, which is really the biggest problem that John the Beast Mugabe had. One of the things Johnny Boz always told me about the Beast is that, he could have been one of the greatest fighters of all time. However, one of his problems was making weight. This guy wasn't as disciplined at the table as he was in the gym. He would work out hard. There's no question about it. He would work out in the gym, but he couldn't stay away from food, and he was always having trouble making weight. And a lot of his training camps focused on cutting weight in order to make the weight for that fight.
Yeah, he did. He did balloon up after the loss to Hagler. He ballooned up to close to 200 pounds. But that was the only thing that I saw that where there was a mention of some lack of discipline. Although he didn't like his morning running all that much. Who does? But there were times where his one of his co-managers would come to try to wake him up, and they'd get into a little argument, about waking him up. He'd have to ring the doorbell, and if he didn't answer the door, he'd go around the side of the house and knock on the window. And Mugabe came to the door and said, "Look, this is a private residence. You don't knock on the window." And that was, I guess, that's one of the things that it did seem that he could be a little moody in his training. Like a lot of fighters, he might be in a good mood at one point, and then a little while later, you don't know what exactly ticked him off, but sometimes in training, he'd be in a little nasty mood. I think the early morning running, it's hard to get up early and have a great a smile on your face every morning doing your road work, that's for sure.
Well, I certainly I wish I could wake up with a smile on my face, enough to even consider doing some running. But when I look at his record as his rise prior to the Hagler fight, which we'll get to in a second, the biggest fight and the biggest win on there was a first-round knockout over Curtis Parker. Curtis Parker was a quality fighter in the early 80s, and he dominated him. But aside from that, I don't even recall how he got the shot at Hagler, and he fared well against Hagler. I mean, he went all the way until the 11th round, and a lot of people say that fight against the Beast is what prompted Sugar Ray Leonard to challenge Hagler. He saw something that he thought that Marvin was a little susceptible to. But what's your thoughts on his rise up to the point where he fought Hagler, and then, of course, the Hagler fight itself?
Yeah, well, one of the things that Mickey Duff, his main manager, and Sauerland did that, maybe it was one of those things that they capitalized on his African descent, and they used the name The Beast. They posed him in front of zebra skins to try to promote him. And when you have a guy who knocks people out and just separates them from the senses so easily, or so repeatedly, so consistently, that really helped to cultivate this beast image. And he did. He had the string of knockouts. He was going to get a shot at either Hagler or Hearns. And, of course, the year before, when he was one of the top contenders at junior middleweight, then in April of 1985, Hagler and Hearns had their incredible war, and he became, more interested in fighting Hagler, and he had to have that. He did have one fight at middleweight before, or actually a couple of fights at middleweight before He eventually fought Marvin in March of 1986. But yeah, there was a couple of names on that on his record there. That Curtis Parker was a good one. Frank the Animal Fletcher was another guy he knocked out in 4 rounds. And James Green was probably the guy that he learned the most because he had to suffer through adversity in that fight. He got what he called either a thumb or at least an eye injury early on in the fight and had incredible blurred vision. And it was Mickey Duff that got him to say, because he was ready to quit after the 3rd round, after the eye injury. But Mickey Duff said, hang on and keep fighting, and your vision will clear. And they almost stopped the fight because when the ring doctor came to talk to him, he was one of those points where he just didn't want to speak. And Mickey Duff said, look, he doesn't speak a word of English. And the ring doctor bought it. So the fight continued, and Mugabe's vision cleared, and he ended up scoring the 10th round knockout. So that was a big victory in order to keep the knockout streak going. But yeah, you're right. With Marvin Hagler, that fight was an incredible brawl. It was the first fight that Showtime ever telecast, and it was. You're right. Sugar Ray Leonard saw that Marvin Hagler was a lot more hittable than he'd ever been before, and that was what drew him out of retirement.
Well, John the Beast Mugabe was 25-0 with 25 knockouts going into that fight, and only the fight you mentioned with James Green in 1984 was the only one of those 25-0 with 25 knockouts that went over 6 rounds. Every other fight ended 6 rounds or less with the Beast, and justifiably so, nicknamed the Beast. The fight with Hagler was a great fight. If any of you out there have never seen it, punch it up, because it was great. I remember, and I hate to say this, especially to you, Alex, but I kind of was pulling for, as much as I love Hagler, I was kind of pulling for the Beast. I mean, I think that knockout streak was very big for me at that time.
I got to get going. I gotta go.
I know it's hard. I know you. I'm dead to you now. I know that, but I'm just saying, if you recall the I don't know the word I'm looking for, but the I can't even find one, but the whole fact of 25-0, 25 knockouts, no fights going except for one past 6 rounds. I mean, you kind of were pulling for the guy, But then, in hindsight, you look at Marvin Hagler starting to age a bit and looking human. Ends up winning. Not only does he win, he knocks him out in the 11th round. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for your guy. All right.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Showtime really had a very dramatic, fight for their debut of their championship boxing series, and it is a hell of a fight. And I think a lot of people forget about it because it is. It's sort of the middle. It's the stuff in the middle between the Hearns fight and the Leonard fight for Marvin Hagler. But actually, he made Mugabe wait because Hagler suffered a broken nose in training, and the fight was delayed 4 months. But yeah, at the time Mugabe was the number one guy by all three. At the time, there's only 3 sanctioning bodies. And Mugabe was their number one guy. Like I said, there was talk about him fighting Hearns as well, but it ended up being that it was Hagler that they made the fight. And the idea, Hearns actually fought, I think it was James Shuler. Let me double check here. I think it was James Shuler. Yeah, James Shuler on the other card because they were talking about making a rematch between Hagler and Hearns. But that never happened, as we know.
Well, after that knockout to Hagler, he fought, several months later against Dwayne Thomas, who was another up-and-coming middleweight at the time, and he got knocked out in that fight again. So he loses back-to-back knockout losses for the first 2 losses of his career. But then he rattles off 8 more wins, all by knockout, giving him a shot against Rene Jacquet for the WBC junior middleweight title. and picked up where he left off. He got 3 more of those in a row until he faced Terry Norris, in which he was knocked out. I mean, the trend here with John the Beast Mugabe was he either knocked you out or you knocked him out.
Yes, and in fact, he gets a distinction that it's only like Al Singer, another champion, past ring great, who has that same dubious distinction of winning and losing a title on first-round knockouts. He had that first-round knockout over Rene Jacot, and then losing it to Terry Norris by first-round knockout as well. But you're right. That was one of the things that Hagler thought of him as sort of a scaled-down version of George Foreman. And I think we're talking about the early George Foreman, not the '90s Foreman who could box, but the early murderous George Foreman, who was more of a brawler, where you, with a little bit of science, you could outthink and out-strategize Mugabe, but forget it if you wanted to outpunch him. Terry Norris was just too quick for him, that's for sure. And you kind of wonder if the good life was affecting him at this point. One of the things that Ferdy Pacheco said about him at one point is that he's not complex. He eats and sleeps boxing. His only measure of sophistication is his credit card, and that's going to be his undoing. And as supposedly Mickey Duff said at one point, he has a black belt in shopping. Mugabe was able to spend about 30 to 40 grand in 3 months. He loves beer, he loves kung fu movies, music videos, and hanging out with friends, and he spent a lot of money on them. But he believed that it was sort of this African, this Ugandan hospitality or generosity that was just sort of in him from the young age of the kid stealing food for his friends. He said, in our country, if you have food, you share it. If you have a roof and someone does not have a roof, you let him come in. It happens to me. I'm the one with the money. So he believed in sharing it.
Well, so did Robin Hood. That's why I said they should have called him Robin Hood, the Beast Mugabe. But, the Terry Norris fight, Gerald McClendon, the body, I'm thinking of, but Gerald McClendon fight ended pretty quickly in 1 round 2.
McClellan just destroyed him.
Yeah. The interesting thing, out of his whole career, only 4 fights went to the cards. He had 2 wins in those 4 fights, 1 loss, and 1 2-round draw that they had to go, which technically should be on the books as a technical draw due to a cut. One interesting fight that I do want to mention, I was ringside for, and it was the one at Foxwoods in 1998 against Bo James. And the funny thing is Bo James was a fighter that would eventually come with us to another event in North Dakota. And this was a guy that was extremely small. He was a small guy that basically had to really, put on weight to even get in the ring with John the Beast Mugabe. Because if you recall, that fight was actually at super middleweight. It was already when the Beast kind of stopped training. And he lost that fight. Bo James beat him at Foxwoods on that night in January of 1998. And to me, I remember bringing my buddy with me to that fight. And I said to myself, that's the end of him. And pretty much it was. And for all intent and purposes, Alex, you could say his career kind of ended after the Hagler fight because he never really was the same.
No, and I think between Terry Norris and Gerald McClellan, those 2 knockouts really did finish him off as far as a legitimate contender and anything more than just a name on your record. But yeah, I mean he. It does sound like he's still involved in the sport today. He has a loss. His final loss was against Glenn Kelly, who we know we ended up seeing again when he fought Roy Jones. Roy Jones was the one who knocked him out with one hand behind his back. Remember that knockout?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Glenn Kelly. So I don't know if he eventually got involved with in the sport, through that area of where he lives in Australia or what, but he got back involved in the sport as more of a trainer / manager since then.
Well, I know that he's living in Tampa still because he was at one of our fights. Last I knew, he was back in Florida because he came to actually both fights we did in Tampa a couple of years ago. John the Beast Mugabe was ringside.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great because that was really where he settled when he came to this country. Was the Tampa area, and it was difficult to find whether or not he's actually living in Australia or living stateside. But I guess if you've seen him there in Tampa, that's where he is today.
Well, that was several years ago.
Now remember, Uganda has a very war-torn history. That was where it was Idi Amin's rule that drove that tea plantation owner Jack Edwards out. And that's eventually why Cornelius Boza Edwards went there, went to London, and eventually John Mugabe also. He hadn't been back to Uganda in a long time, in more than 28 years, and he actually had a daughter. He had gotten married here stateside, and then they eventually divorced, and he hadn't seen his daughter in 28 years until he went back to Uganda. But Uganda... The thing about Uganda is that once it fell into sort of a war-torn, anybody with certain affiliations, whether they have police affiliations or not, you could get a lot of notoriety if you beat up or have some sort of a squabble with a guy like John Mugabe. So for a while, it was just plain unsafe for him to go back there, but now it seems he's been back there a few times, and they treat him as a visiting hero, as he should be, because he's a world titleist.
Yeah, and plus there's not that many great fighters from Uganda. I mean, let's be real. I know that there's other good fighters out there, but I don't know if they're as accomplished as he was, and he was a beast in the ring. I mean, he didn't want fights to go long. I mean, he wanted to end them quick, and for the most part, they did. Whether he ended with the W or not, they ended quick, most of them. Another
Ugandan fighter, actually, Facebook tells me it's his birthday today, was Justin Juko, who had fights with Diego Corrales and I think Floyd Mayweather as well.
Yeah, he did fight Floyd Mayweather, and didn't he fight... Justin Juko was one of the fighters that Mayweather, out of one of his retirements, came and fought, right?
I think he might have, but he fought him early because I think that was way down at 130.
Okay, well, someone else fought Justin Juko after somewhat of a retirement and came back and fought. I remember that name, a couple of years ago type of a thing, Anyway. Let's take a short break, and when I come back, we can finish talking about John the Beast Mugabe and get into maybe a little more of his style, because he was a seek and destroy guy. But my question to you will be, when we come back from a break, did he have a weak chin, or just did he have no defense? Alex will answer that in about 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio. He would scoff at the stretch of that man, I would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.kofantasyboxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C Morning Show. Glad you guys could be with us. We're glad to be with you on this fine morning. And right now we're in the middle of doing our blast from the past, which is on John the Beast Mugabe. And telling us all about it is my main man, Alex Perpali. And I posed a question to you, Alex. Was John the Beast Mugabe, was his weakness his chin, or just didn't he have much of a defense?
I think it was more the defense, because if you look at who it was that knocked him out, at least in terms of when he was at his best, they were all big punchers: Terry Norris, Gerald McClellan, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I think that that some of Hagler's assessment of him being a scaled down version of George Foreman, I think, was accurate. And the Dwayne Thomas knockout, he claimed that was a thumb in his. It was a accidental thumb in the eye. Well, not just he claimed it, but that's how that fight went down. According to BoxRec, it says that was one of the things that was a little bit strange, is that Mugabe insisted on the gloves that had thumb not attached, and that's exactly what got him, was the bad thumb. So I don't know. I don't think it was that he had a weak chin. I think it was more that guys who could box and hit hard could undo him.
Well, I tell you what, Bo James wasn't much of a hard hitter, and he undid him all right. I remember bringing my buddy to the fights, and John the Beast Mugabe's fighting. Oh, he's a killer. He's this, he's that. And it was like, he just wasn't anything like himself. And I believe that, that was pretty much the end of his career. Although he did fight 3 more times after that. I clearly thought, I'll never forget watching that fight at Foxwoods. And just thinking, wow, John the Beast is a beast no more,
Yeah. He. We should mention, that's right. Coach pointed that out. That I don't think I mentioned that he did win a silver medal at the 1980 Olympics in Moscow. That was the one that we boycotted because they had invaded Afghanistan. He ended up with a silver medal. It was a little bit of a controversial. What a surprise! A little bit of a controversial finish in the gold medal match.
Wait a minute, not in Russia. Not in Russia.
Well, and not in amateur boxing.
Yeah.
What a surprise!
I mean, wait a minute. There wasn't any controversy in Russia and boxing. I mean, come on. I mean, that never happens. But anyway, yeah, I had that, and he also, which I'll might as well mention now, he won Ring Magazine's, which I never knew they even gave an award out. But in 1983, Ring Magazine awarded John the Beast Mugabe with the Progress of the Year Fighter Award. Did you ever hear that one? That's almost like an intercontinental champion. I think things started going downhill when the Ring Magazine started naming. I could see the Comeback Fighter of the Year, but the Progress of the Year Fighter for 1983.
That's like, most improved or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but how did he do in title bout?
So in the title bout championship boxing game, I put him in against a junior middleweight and a middleweight. And interestingly, today we have a junior middleweight who is a middleweight. So it was sort of interesting to do this because and after this past weekend, of course, I guess he's really firmed up his junior middleweight credentials, and that's Canelo Alvarez. So I put him in against John Mugabe versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. The first time they fought, Mugabe wins. Knockout in the 8th round, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. He brutalized him. He had Canelo down 4 times in the fight and stopped him in the 8th round, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. When they fight 100 times, Canelo gets the better of him. Mugabe goes 41 victories, 56 defeats, 3 draws. He scored 32 knockouts, and Canelo also scored 32 knockouts in his 56 wins. When I had him fight for the middleweight title, I had him fight against Gennady Golovkin, and the first time they fought, he stops Gennady Golovkin. 5th round KO, 2 minutes and 49 seconds. He knocked Golovkin out cold with, interestingly, a huge uppercut, which was the punch that in Golovkin's most recent fight, it seemed that Kell Brook had his best success landing the uppercut. When they fight 100 times, though, Golovkin gets the better of him. Mugabe goes 31 victories, 69 defeats. He scored 22 knockouts in his 31 wins, and in his 69 victories, Golovkin scored 57 KOs.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. I mean, he either won by knockout or lost by knockout. But great job as usual, Alex. John, the Beast Mugabe. Like Alex said, he won the silver medal in the 1980 Olympics in Moscow. And like I mentioned, he won the Ring Magazine's Progress of the Year Fighter in 1983. He was a world junior middleweight champion, and he was a world middleweight title challenger. He had a career record of 42 wins, 39 by knockout. He did lose 7 times, in which he was stopped himself 6 times. He had 1 draw. He had a career 78% knockout ratio. John the Beast Mugabe, our blast from the past today. And as
one
usual,
thing I should also mention is that I'm not sure if it's available yet, but he was working on a biography about an autobiography as of June 2015. So I don't know if that got finished or what.
Yeah, well, it's either going to be a knockout or he's going to get knocked out because that's his MO. But hopefully he'll do okay with that. Great job as usual, Alex. A couple of questions. As always, you know, we're going to put you on the spot now. Canelo, speaking of Canelo, beats Liam Smith via 9th round knockout this past Saturday. What's your thoughts on the fight?
I did not watch the whole thing. I watched some of it on the radio, but my connection was not the greatest, so I only got like the first 3 rounds. From what I saw, it was, kind of as predicted, but Canelo, I guess, come up with a, impressive body shot KO. I will definitely watch it on Saturday night if they replay it, but I don't really have much to say on it because, like I said, I didn't see it. I did see the very end of Willie the Worm Monroe versus Gabe Rosado, which I kind of thought that fight would be a bit of a boring fight because I just didn't think that Gabe Rosado had enough left to make it entertaining against a slick boxer like Willie the Worm. Willie the Mongoose.
Yeah, he's El Mongoose. The Worm was his so-called
his
uncle,
yeah.
Even though they call him Junior, which is a little confusing for me. But anyway, just to jump back to the Canelo Smith, I will say this. Liam Smith, and I referred to him as a bum. I thought that he put up a much better showing, like Larry suggested earlier, than I anticipated. And he's the kind of fighter I like to watch, to be honest with you, Liam Smith. He was a guy with a lot of heart and wasn't afraid of getting in there and mixing it up. And I think he's shown, he showed me at least, and when you watch when you get a chance to watch it, I'm curious to see what you think. But I think he's clearly shown me that Canelo hasn't progressed, Alex. I mean, this is a guy that, let's be real. He's totally robbing my man Floyd Mayweather's career, but in terms of cherry picking and trying to make as much money as he can, et cetera, and in doing so, he's not improving. I go all the way back to the Mayweather fight. And, some of the things that I criticized Canelo for doing in that fight, he still does, and the only difference now is he's a bigger name. He's got a bigger following, and Smith was able to land some shots on him. And I just don't see him being competitive with Triple G, which I'll get to in a second. But one point I do want to make about your point about the Monroe-Rosado fight. I think you're 100% accurate. Gabe Rosado, who I picked for this fight, even though I'm a big fan of Willie Monroe, he's shot. He's done. He's not the same fighter anymore. And I think it's time for him to hang him up. I see negative things happening to this kid if he continues. Is that what you saw, or do you think Willie Monroe needs to just get more credit?
I think that at least against slick boxers, Gabe Rosado is going to look like that every time. He doesn't have the reflexes against guys like that. Against an Alfredo Angulo type fighter, those kind of guys, face first brawlers, I think he still might have some success. But he's at the point now where you got to really think about moving forward very carefully, because the mileage is adding up.
One of my topics today was I believe that Triple G, Canelo makes it seem like Triple G needs Canelo, and I think it's completely the reverse right now. I think that Canelo really needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo, and the reason is because of Canelo's mouth, and his promoter. I honestly believe that Canelo wants to fight Triple G. I don't think that this kid is afraid of Triple G in any way, shape, or form. I think that his emotions, because he wants to fight him, the emotions transpire into some of the things he says. Us Mexicans don't F around. I'll fight him right now. I fear no man, etc., etc. And then Oscar, the next day has him in the office and saying, well, here's why we're not going to fight him now. And at this point,
apparently Mexicans do F around.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is that Canelo, I feel, has lost face with a lot of boxing fans. Now, I'm not, going to suggest that the Mexican boxing fans are losing interest in him. I know that they're a prideful bunch and are just as upset as we are. But what's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's changed, that it's flip-flopped, that, because in a way, Triple G's got some options. He fights Danny Jacobs, he goes after Billy Joe Saunders, and he's pretty much cleaned up the middleweight division. What does he got to prove about Canelo? Unless Canelo steals Saunders and grabs a hold of one of the belts, who's got more to prove?
Yeah, I think Billy Joe Saunders has got to be a very happy man right now, because he's gotten really popular in the last few weeks. Because I do think both of them probably would rather fight him than each other. Well, I don't know if Golovkin would rather fight Billy Joe Saunders, but he did call him out after his win, and it does look like Canelo's people are thinking about Billy Joe Saunders rather than Triple G. I don't know. I think Canelo, if he hadn't said that, on such a big stage that Mexicans don't F around, right to Golovkin's face, then he wouldn't need Golovkin as badly. But now it is everybody knows what happened. He decided not to have the fight. So, whether they're letting it marinate a little longer or what, I think it's Canelo that is the one who looks worse that the fight isn't happening. And the fact that he is the linear middleweight champion, even though he moved down, it seems that he doesn't have the respect that HBO has for that title. because he moved down to fight a junior middleweight. So I do think that he's not acting like a middleweight, and I think in a case like that, the guy who's more middleweight, even though he's beating up welterweights, is Golovkin. So I don't know. It's a weird time. I think Golovkin probably. I think Canelo needs to fight a little more, but it seems that both guys have audiences there that if they don't fight each other, the Billy Joe Saunders fight, either one of them against him might do okay.
Well, don't forget, Canelo fought a junior welterweight, Amir Khan. But I think that the fact that Triple G has publicly stated that his goal is to get all of the belts in the middleweight division, I think that has kind of laid the groundwork for Canelo's team to go after the Billy Joe Saunders fight, open up the checkbook, offer him more than the $3 million K2 offered. The WBA has ordered the Daniel Jacobs fight with Triple G, which is actually a good fight. I mean, Triple G and Daniel Jacobs, two relative and relevant fighters in the middleweight division. I don't think Daniel Jacobs gives Triple G much of a trouble. But I do believe that he will take that fight. I think that he will honor the order by the WBA, which will open up the doors for Canelo to swoop in and possibly fight Billy Joe Saunders, assuming he beats Saunders. Now Canelo's got some bargaining power with a belt that Triple G desperately wants, because he wants to be the guy to unify the belt, so unify the division. So really, what could transpire, Alex, is this: Triple G fights Daniel Jacobs and wins. Canelo goes and secures the fight with Billy Joe Saunders and wins. And then early 2018, when Triple G is about to receive his Social Security checks, we see finally the fight between Canelo and Triple G. What do you think?
I think that's possible. I think that that maybe that kind of pressure, if he was to take, if he picks up wins against Jacobs and Saunders, that there'd be nowhere else for Canelo to go.
No. I'm saying Canelo. I'm saying that Daniel Jacobs fights Triple G, but
right.
Canelo's going to go in and snag the fight with Billy Joe Saunders. So now assuming he wins, now he's got that last belt that Triple G wants. And
yeah, if he was to do that, then I think that would make Triple G. But I don't know. I guess it would depend on Billy Joe Saunders. Who could he make more money against? Whether it's Alvarez or Triple G, because I'm sure he's going to have a say in this as well. If I was him, I'd fight Canelo.
Yeah, he'll make more. He'll make more money with Canelo because they'll open up the checkbook just to avoid Triple G and to assume that they're putting money in the bank, creating the anticipation for the Triple G fight. So that's what I think will happen.
Well, and if Triple G gets Danny Jacobs, I think that's a better fight anyway. I think Daniel Jacobs has more credibility than Billy Joe Saunders does at this point.
Of course.
So yeah, I think that would be But I tell you, the schedule we're waiting for, like you and Sal Sinicola were joking about, we're talking. If Canelo fights Billy Joe Saunders, we're probably not going to see a Triple G fight until like September, November next year.
Maybe even not then. If Canelo fights Daniel Jacobs, which they're talking about possibly taking place at the end of this year, if they can get the insurance BS out of the way in New York State, it would take place in Brooklyn. Then you're looking at early 2017, but there's the Billy Joe Saunders. So if Canelo fights him, let's assume that he doesn't fight this year because of the thumb, and he comes back and he fights early 2017, Triple G is going to have to find another sacrificial lamb to fight, and then possibly those two meet at the end of 2017 or even the beginning of 2018, like I'm saying. But real quick, a couple of things. One, I'm so sick of these fights that fighters are pulling out of. McKenzie claims he's sick, pulls out of the Huck fight scheduled for this weekend. Huey Fury and Andy Ruiz, two fighters seemingly at the same level, looking for a big win against each other. Andy Ruiz pulls out of that fight. Now Jarrell Miller wanting to pull out of his promotional deal with Dimitri Solida. What's your thoughts? I mean, what's happening with this sport, Alex? I mean, it's so opposite of what the persona of being a professional boxer is. I mean, guys don't want to fight this one. Guys backing out of fights. Promoters, well, that's been a normal thing. Promoters stealing fighters from other promoters. But, fighters all of a sudden saying, hey, by the way, my contract's null and void. Next, whoa. Since when can you do that? What's your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I tell you, I think that if it's a legitimate medical necessity, you gotta cancel a fight. But I mean, we saw it just in the blast that even Marvelous Marvin Hagler did it for a broken nose. But if it's when it's not something medical that you definitely, it definitely looks bad on a fighter to pull out of a fight. I'm not sure of those circumstances you mentioned, the Andy Ruiz situation, but. Yeah, you never like to see fights that are, I'm just waiting for the Tyson Fury Klitschko rematch, and I tell you, look at how much any enthusiasm for that fight has dried up from the delay the delay that was caused on that fight. So yeah, delays are never good, postponements are never good. And cancellations is the same thing, I mean, it doesn't look good for a sport that's on life support. No,
you're right about that. One last thing, the PBC has right now only one event scheduled for TV for the remainder of 2016. Their deal is up with ESPN, so we don't even know if ESPN is going to have boxing anymore. They are in their college football season, and that's their normal routine anyway. So, but my question is, is this the beginning of the end for the PBC? I mean, their blueprint. I mean, they spent almost $500 million, to get up. I mean, you wonder. Obviously, the money's not continuing to come in after $500 million or plus, almost $600 million spent. No more is coming in from investors, and they're not making money from the handful of ads they're selling. The plan was to have these networks turn around and pay the PBC for the production. I don't know if that's going to happen. What's your thoughts? I mean, do you think the PBC will survive, or is this the beginning of the end?
I don't know. I hope it does survive because as much criticism as I've given it, I do think that it's been better than it has been bad.
I agree.
It has given us some pretty good fights. I mean, boxing fans are very forgiving if you deliver on good fights, and that. Frampton Santa Cruz was such an incredible fight that I think that did a lot to make us forget about all the
Thurman Porter too.
Yeah, Thurman Porter was another good one. That the one that you and Larry were just talking, Easter versus Comey, that was a good fight too. So yeah, there's been bright spots in all the mud, but hopefully they get their act together and start making it more economical so investors will not run away from it. But
yeah, but investors
I think that, like Larry Merchant always says, you can't say boxing and you can't kill it. I always think of it's kind of like Dracula in that sense,
Well, you can't have the word investor explains itself, because an investor invests money for what? To make a return, to make money back. If you're offering a product that was just taking the money and spending it with no return, what investor would even consider dumping more money into this? I mean, it It doesn't make sense. Nobody in their right mind would do it again. That whole thing was a smokescreen, shim-sham scam in the beginning. But that gravy train has been cut. There's no more money coming in. They're just continuing to spend the money out of the war chest, But I don't see more money coming in. I see it falling in the laps of the networks to decide, was this product good? Can we sell it to our sponsors? And should we pay the PBC to give us this content on a regular basis? I think that's what it boils down to. And that's the question. Are they going to say yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's a tough one.
It is. Yeah. Because like you said, from a boxing fan perspective, and Larry says it, and you just reiterated that, and I agree with you, that I can't deny that the fights have been good. And I don't know if they've been forced to be good as a last-ditch effort to stay above water or not, or if this is what we can count on if the series continues. I think these are all the questions. And then now it boils down to the sales department of the specific network. Can you sell it to sponsors? Do sponsors want to spend money to be associated with the sport of boxing? And then when you hear all the negativity that goes on around the sport and people, basically screwing each other, that's when they say, no, we'll stick with the NFL. We'll stick with Major League Baseball, basketball, etc.
Yeah, it could be, and that would not be good for the sport.
No, I don't know, my man. It does get disheartening, but like you said, when you see a good matchup like Frampton, Santa Cruz, and Thurman Porter, I mean, it keeps hope alive, and that's all we can ask for. But
well, and we got the rest of the year. We have Kovalev versus Ward, which that could do a lot of good if that's a good fight. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, a lot of pressure will be on Kovalev to see if he can control that fight. If not, Ward will be winning that fight on a decision. But anyway, Alex, great job as usual, my man, and I look forward to next week.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
All right, that's Alex Papali. You can catch him anytime we do the Blast from the Past. Anyway, hey, listen, we're going to be doing a live show again tomorrow, but then we won't be back until Monday, so just giving you a heads up. So I'll leave you with this. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.